Okay, today I'm going to talk about the solution to urban problems. So as we have talked about in the last lesson, we have four major urban problems. The first is the housing problem. The second is the traffic congestion. And the third one is environmental pollution, including air pollution and noise pollution. And the fourth one is urban decay. First of all, how can we solve housing problems? The first solution is to build public housing and new towns. Since the 1970s, the government has started to build new towns in the new territories. This map shows the distribution of new towns in the new territories. Chunwan and Shatin and Tumu were the first generation new towns. Taipo, Yunnan, Fanning are the second generation new towns, and Putong North, Fanning North, Hongshui Kiu are the third generation of new towns. And Dongchong is a newly developed area, Dongchong here. And new towns help to cope with the overcrowded environment in urban areas. And the new towns are well-planned communities with more open space and social facilities. This photo is the park in the Shatin New Town. It's large and spacious, and it provides enough recreational facilities for residents in Shatin. Yeah, this is a park in Shatin. And in new towns, industrial areas are also separated from residential areas by green belts, by green areas, to avoid land use conflicts. This is the photo taken along the Xingmu River, and these two are the public estates in Shatin New Town. And public housing estates provide flats at a lower rent, and a better living environment, okay, and a better living environment for low-income groups. So the large-scale public housing estates in new towns help relieve the pressure for housing on urban areas. Now, let me show you an animation about the new town development in Hong Kong. So in the 1950s, the built-up areas are mainly on both sides of the Victoria Harbour. Then the government started to develop new towns in the new territories to help cope with the overcrowded environment in urban areas. So the population moved to these new towns, such as Tuen Mun, Yunnan, Fanning, Taipo, Shatin, and Chunwan. And then in the 1990s, the government built more new towns such as Dongchong and Chuanquan. Okay, and in 2014, 3.4 million people live in 9 new towns. That means new towns have accommodated almost half the population of Hong Kong. And the new towns have successfully made the urban areas less crowded. And then here, the government will develop 2 new towns in the new 3 new towns in the new territories, such as Hongshui Kiu, Pudong North, and Fanning North. Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint. Another way to relieve to solve the housing problem in the urban area is to is urban renewal. So this is Central Pole, and there are many old buildings in the inner city of Central Pole. And some of these old buildings are pulled down, and they are then redeveloped into high-rise buildings to provide more flats for people. But of course, these new flats, these new buildings are very expensive. Yeah. And this is an low-rise old building. And this is a developed high-rise building. And then the government can also separate industrial areas from residential areas by green areas to avoid land use conflicts. For example, Sha-Tin is well planned, which provides a pleasant living environment. But this is the aerial photo of Sha-Tin. This is Shingmun River. As you can see, okay, this is a cultural facility, heritage museum, and this is the city plaza, okay, the private housing along the railway line, and this is the public housing. And there are more recreational facilities and open space along the Shingmu River. And a good transport network provide different means of transport for people to travel to the urban area. So this is the highway, and there is a bus terminus in the New Town Plaza. Another way to solve the housing problem is to tap into farmland. There is a large area of farmland in the new territories. The government can use this swath of farmland to build public housing. And Kutong North and also Fanny North are new towns derived from farmland. Another plan to solve the housing problem is East Lantau Metropolis. In Carrie Lam proposed a plan to create new land in the waters of the Lantau Island here, okay? So this would create a large area of land, and the government plans to build public housing and private housing on the new man-made island. So reclamation in the waters of the Lantau Island, and it creates more vacant land for building public housing and private housing. And third, and then how can we solve traffic congestion? Now, this is the construction of the central Wan Chai bypass. Yeah, this is because the roads in Central are very narrow, and these roads cannot cope with the heavy traffic passing the central area. Yeah, and then the first way is to improve road network. And the government built new roads to improve the flow of traffic. Now, in order to reduce traffic congestion, the central Wan Chai bypass is built to divert traffic from the main roads in the CBD. Also, the government upgrade existing road network. Tuen Mun Highway was widened and straightened to increase road capacity and road safety. Yeah. Here, okay. And then this is the map showing the central Wan Chai bypass. The vehicles to the eastern and western parts of the island can bypass central. And so for those who want to cross the harbor using the harbor tunnel, or for those who want to go to the eastern area, the drivers can use this bypass to avoid the heavy traffic in central. The government can also expand the railway network, and this photo is the South Island Line. So railways are efficient and environmentally friendly mass transit systems. And then the new railway lines can help to reduce traffic congestion on road. The South Island Line was opened, okay, to reduce the traffic congestion at the entrances of Aberdeen Tunnel. And the government is going to expand the railway network further. So new railway lines are planned to further improve traffic in the future. And this is the Sha-Tin Central Railway Line. And with an expanded railway network, Hong Kong people will find it more convenient to use the railway network, and they will use the railway more frequently instead of driving. Now, this is the map of the Sha-Tin Central Line. Now, this is the new line connecting the west and the east of the new territories. And there are some new stations in the urban areas such as Sung Won Toi, To Kwa Wan, and Kai Tak. And the government can carry out different measures to encourage the public to use public transport. For example, the government can provide park and ride discounts for drivers. The government can reduce the number of vehicles in urban areas. For example, the parking areas near the train station can encourage drivers to use the train because they can park their cars at the discounted fare near train stations. And this can help drivers to save money. And another effective solution is to control the number of vehicles. For example, the government can raise the first registration tax of vehicles. The first registration tax is quite expensive. It is almost half the price of most new cars. Another way is to promote the restructuring of bus routes. Now, for those students, you can go to these government videos, okay, to watch how the government has restructured the bus routes. Another way is to evenly distribute traffic flow along 3 tunnels. Now, at present, Hong Kong Tunnel is very cheap, but the other 2 cross-harbor tunnels are more expensive. As a result, many drivers only use the Hong Kong Harbor Tunnel to reduce the cost. And this, because of this, there is heavy traffic congestion at the entrance of Hong Kong Harbor Tunnel all the time. Some legislatures have suggested purchasing the other 2 tunnels from the operators. And after the purchase, the government has the right to reduce the tunnel fees for the other 2 tunnels so as to encourage drivers to use the 2 tunnels. But the government is concerned about the huge cost of purchasing the 2 tunnels. And that's why the government has not done anything to start the purchase of the two tunnels, the Western Harbour Tunnel and the Eastern Harbour Tunnel. Another way is to increase job opportunities in new towns. If there are enough job opportunities in new towns, people do not need to go to Kowloon and Hong Kong for work, and this can successfully reduce traffic flow. And the third problem is air pollution. And the first kind of air pollution that needs to be tackled is roadside air pollution. First of all, the government can promote eco-driving habits. The government has now banned drivers, using idling engines. So all drivers are required to switch off idling engines so as to reduce air pollution. And the government has lowered the first registration tax for low emission vehicles, and so as to promote the use of cleaner fuels. And the government has subsidized drivers to install filters to trap air pollutants. And this rule applies to old vehicles. The bus companies and power stations should use cleaner fuels. For example, power stations use natural gas instead of coal to generate electricity. But another source of air pollution comes from China. That's why the Hong Kong government has to cooperate with the Chinese government to tackle cross-border air pollution. The Hong Kong government regularly hosts meetings with the Guangdong government in joint working group on sustainable development and environmental protection. And in recent years, the Guangdong government has successfully reduced air pollution by a series of drastic measures. For example, the Guangdong government has made it compulsory for most power plants to install filters to trap pollutants so as to reduce the amount of suspended particles in the air. And lastly, I will talk about the solutions to water pollution. The first is to ban the discharge of sewage into the harbor. As a result, the government has built sewers or sewage treatment plants on the Stonecutters Island. And wastewater collected in urban areas is purified in the Stonecutters Island. And this has successfully improved the water quality in the Victoria Harbour. Another pollution that needs to be tackled is noise pollution. First of all, the government has to restrict noise level produced by construction activities. The government can set up noise barriers or green belts in between busy roads and residential areas. And this photo is taken along the Eastern Corridor. And this estate is the Shing. Okay. So you see, the highway is paved with noise-reducing materials, and this is the noise barrier to reduce the noise bounced back to the residential areas there. And this is the park, and noise brought to residential areas is reduced. Okay, so that's all for today's lesson.